Hi, I'm Rick and Rick Turns, and today I'm going to be making a small weed pot or twig vase. And with this twig vase, I've inset 3 small plugs of purple heart, just as a decorative element. My wife loved these little weed pots. This one is made specifically at her request. They don't take much material, they don't take much time, so they make great little gifts. So, let's get started. Well, I've got a piece of water oak here. It's a bit longer than what I need. I'm going to cut off both ends and then select a piece out of the middle. You can see it's got a big split down here, but that's okay. That's going to be turned away. Okay. I'm going to go for about 7, 8 inches, something like that. There's 6 inches. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and cut this piece off. Okay, just going to round this down. Okay, I'm going to put the tenon down here. That'll be the base of the weed pot. And got this set to the size for my chuck jaws. That looks good. I wanted at least a 1/2 inch here to go into the jaws. So I'm going to take this off and mount it in the jaws. Well, I'm going to bring up the tailstock anyway. Give it a little bit more stability while I'm finish roughing it out, start shaping it. 7 1/4. Probably going to cut it down to about 6, I think. We'll see how it looks. Okay, back to the roughing gouge. Okay, this particular weed pot is going to have a kind of a bulbous bottom down here and get very narrow into the neck, and so I'm going to start by cutting in here just to establish the bottom, and then I'll take away some of this wood up here. Switch to a 1/2 inch spindle gouge here. pretty much what I want the bottom to look like. This, of course, is still way too thick. So I'm going to switch over to a skew chisel now to work on this part. Drop this down a wee bit. Definitely too long. I think that's about where I want it to be, right there. So, I'm going to mark that off. Well, as far as the shape goes, it looks pretty good. I'm going to cut this off and then drill the hole. All right, I've got a 5/16" drill bit here. You generally use a pretty small one like that. And the reason is, if you get too big a hole, the dried flowers, which have pretty thin stalks generally, just tend to flop all over the place. And then my wife gets mad at me and tells me I didn't do it right. So, 5/16 is about the largest I go unless it's a really big vase. Then I might go up to 3/8. Okay, got the lathe set at 1500. I'm going to turn that down about 600. It's not really much of a problem with a twist drill like that. If you use a Forstner bit, you need to pull it out completely fairly frequently. Otherwise, the shavings build up behind it and it can get stuck in there. Depth of the hole doesn't really matter too much. I cut it in maybe 3 or 4 inches. It really, inch and a half, 2 inches is fine. See how that looks. Okay. I'm going to put a little detail right in here, I think. I'm going to put a little bit of a detail on here, just for kicks, just for interest. I'm going to mark a line in here, and I'm going to put some pegs in of tropical hardwood. This is just going to kind of mark the piece, just a little decoration. So I'm going to put it opposite the dark part right over here. So I'm going to drill some holes in there. I'll go get the drill and be right back. Got a 5/16 inch drill bit here. It isn't a Forstner bit. It's sort of in that direction. I guess it's a spur bit of some sort. So I'm going to get this right on here. I want to go in directly tangent to the curve there, just like that. And I want to go in about 5/16 of an inch, which is about the depth of the cutter head. Okay, I got my 3 holes there. I could, of course, put them all the way around the side, but I just want a small decoration on this one. Now what I'm going to do is get out my pegs. I cut my own pegs using these little plug cutters like this. They're very easy to use, particularly if you got a drill press. Got 3 little pegs here. These are Purple Heart. I really like Purple Heart because it's purple. And I've got a little bit of plain old woodworker's glue. Plain old yellow glue here is what I use. I don't use instant glue, even though of course it would be faster. But that's the reason I don't use it. Sometimes a peg will go in crooked and I have to pull it out. So all I do here is just rub some glue right down into each hole. And now I'm going to tap the peg in place. Sometimes they'll zip right in, sometimes they won't. And I have to tap them in with a little hammer if they don't. So this peg, you can see one end is dark, one end is wood colored. That's because before I cut them on the peg cutter, I'll darken one side of the wood. That's so that I'll know years after I cut that peg which side is the narrow one. It's this one. Okay, one, same thing there. All right, that is 30 minutes to set. Glue's had plenty of time to set up now, so I'm going to cut these down. Now this is a little bit delicate because if you cut too fast on these, a lot of times the dowel there is going to break. If it breaks above the surface, not a problem. But they usually break right below the surface, then they have to be drilled out and replaced, and that's a nuisance. So what I'll typically use to do this is just the very lightest cut I can manage with a shear straight. And that seems to be the easiest way or the safest way of cutting those dowels down. Let's take a look at that. Good. None of them broke. Great. Now I'm just going to turn enough to get rid of the pencil mark there. One other little decoration I'm going to put on there is a burn line. Lays set on 1500, which is plenty fast enough. Good. Got my sandpaper. I'm going to start at 180, and then I'll go to 220, 320, 400, 600, and 800. Not too exciting. I'll stop the camera and I'll be back when I'm done. That is the last piece of sandpaper. All right, looking pretty good there. So I'm ready to put on some finish. Finish I'm using is shellac, well linseed oil, and some alcohol to dilute the shellac and thin it out a little bit. I'm just going to wipe on a coat to begin with. And then I'll apply the rest of it while it's spinning. All right. Now, apply the friction. I'm at 850 for sanding. I'm going to go up higher than that, say 1900. A little more finish. That's a total of 6 coats of finish. And I don't think it's going to look any better, even if I add more. So I'm going to part it off. And there it is, white oak with pegs of Purple Heart. I'll just cut off the nub there, put a little finish down here to seal the wood, and it's done.